but are we going to be seeing that triumphal riding in of Christ with his saints, just laying siege to the cities of men?
Yeah, so the last season, it's in my mind, it's just war. It's
Oh,
like
cool.
war and remedy. And so you have the first part where like that meme is like they had us in the first half. That's what it's gonna be like for the Antichrist and everybody. The whole world's gonna be like, we can win, we can win. But if you already know, it's kind of spoilers, not spoilers, but we'll just say that it says like the blood is up to like the horse's bridle. So it's like, yeah, it's gonna be cool. So
welcome on back, faithful to tough love. My name is Eric Rolon. I am your host in the Lord, and tonight I am joined by Mr. Ron McKinney. He is the leader of Studio Bless. You don't know what Studio Bless is yet? Well, hold on, we're going to get into it. Ron is working with his friends on creating a Christian anime, specifically Christian, and not on accident. Okay, like we're also not going as crude as Flying House or Superbook way back in the day. We're talking like really, really well fleshed out drawing here, beautifully done, artistically at its peak. Ron, thank you so much for coming onto the show. Really great to have you.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. So I was talking with Ron a couple weeks ago. We just touched base a little bit because I don't want to say that I stumbled onto your content on Instagram, but my wife rather did. And for those of you in my audience that know, my wife and I, we are part of the voice actor world, part of the actor world in general. So we've both worked on and directed in a number of different anime. Well, she was doing her end of the day little ritual that she has. She was scrolling the feed on Instagram, getting in those funny shorts just before bed. And then she goes, babe, you got to look at this. And I peek on over her shoulder and I'm staring down at, it was just a quick little snippet of some still shots and some motion shots from the anime that you're working on, which is called Ascension After. And we both sat there and it finished up and it had your big marquee at the end, Ascension After, Studio Bless. And she goes, I think you need to reach out and talk to this guy. Is here. I said, yeah, I think I do. So we spoke, one thing led to another. Here we are doing this interview, which I am hoping is going to really light a fire and get the word out about what you guys are working on here. On your Instagram, it says you're inspiring faith through visual storytelling. And I think that is so awesome and so incredible because we've seen through the advent of storytelling as far back as cave paintings to present, where you have VR goggles you can throw on and actually experience the movie, almost like the feelies in Brave New World, only less touchy-feely. It's amazing to see somebody actually take the initiative to try and enlist more than just an emotional response out of the viewers, more than just a call to action in the sense that, hey, we want you to get up and start picking up trash, start taking care of your neighborhood, stop littering. It's like, no. This is going to be a call to action to crack a good book and indulge in a relationship with your Heavenly Father.
Yes.
So
let's
go ahead. Sorry. No, you go ahead, man. Take it away.
You're right. Call to action is huge, especially for what we're doing here at Studio Bless. And so, like you said, like you'll see a call to action to go pick up trash, to plant more trees, to build more wells. But our call to action through everything that we do at Studio Bless is to tend to people's souls. And so that's what our call to action is.
That's so awesome. Actually, in your live event, you mentioned when somebody asked you, what is this about? You said, well, this is what we plan to do is create inspiring faith-based content. And I love the word inspiring there. It's inspiring the fact that you are trying to inspire people to tumble down this rabbit hole, see what it's all about. And in so doing, they will be rewarded for the toil and the effort. So I want to jump right into questions here because I'm sure my listeners, just by seeing the title here, they're probably wondering, oh my gosh, is Eric back in anime? No, not just yet. Different concept here that we're covering today. But obviously your story is biblically inspired. Anybody can tell by some of the visuals that you have up on Instagram. And then if you go through your link tree, you can see a little bit more. It takes you to the YouTube channel. But tell me, how did this idea even form and take shape? And then what made you decide to actually produce your own anime?
Well, so actually, the whole idea it started in my undergrad. It was my junior year. Really, and it was my sophomore year, and it all started in this little sketchbook here.
Mm,
And I have the date somewhere in here. I can't find the exact spot, but it's towards the beginning. And the whole idea for me to do even like faith-based work, because I originally started with just doing like charcoal and graphite, and then moved over to digital painting and stuff like that. And it all stemmed from a project that we had in my sophomore year, where we had the choice to make a project that or a piece that was based off of Scientology or faith. Well, at the time,
cool.
as we it just so happened the project came about when my resurgence of faith happened, and so I was like, I wouldn't want to do Scientology, so I made
Yeah.
a painting. Yeah, I made a painting, and it was me at my bedside praying with the Bible open. You could see the light coming in from the window, and I'm heavily inspired by like the Renaissance artists, and my favorite's Caravaggio.
Mm,
And my professors was like, hey, there's something here. And so I thought over the summer, this is the summer of 2021, like, what can I do for Jesus through art? And then the Light of the World Project came about. That's what the interim title was called, Light of the World Project. And at first, it actually started out to be just a series of paintings. And those paintings went on to be displayed at shows and stuff like that, different art galleries. Um, but then when I graduated, I'm skipping a lot of stuff, by the way, and you can ask more questions. But
sure.
yeah, it's because it's a long story, but when I graduated, um, I was just doing like one-off like commission work, graphic design work, just doing like the basic art job, right, and not having passion about it. And at the same
Mm,
time, I also started working as an intern as a children's pastor at my church,
that's
and
awesome.
I would also do like Bible studies with people ranging from like 12 years old all the way up to like 60 years old through Discord, and then just so happened I have a love and passion for eschatology, and no matter what would happen, somebody would ask me about the book of Revelation, and I'd be like,
Mm.
ooh, let's go ahead and get into it.
Bro, like, how much
And
time do you
then
have?
yeah, and then coupled with my love for anime and stuff like that, it was around 2022, the end, so December 2022, and we had this Bible study, and like for weeks, it just people saying, dude, there should be like a Bible anime. I was like, yeah, that'd be really cool. I said, there's already like something like that. But they're like, no, but like Revelation. And then that's when it really started, was from the thought of a Bible study member telling me that I should probably do it, and then going to God and praying about it, and then having a dream confirming it. And then ever since then, I was just about Studio Bliss.
Wow. So they said, hey, you should do this. And you were like, shoot, I should do this.
Yeah, pretty much. I had
So,
nothing else going on, pretty much. So yeah.
well, I mean, you look at Elijah. He was plowing a field when God showed up to him and was like, hey, via Elijah, you're going to be coming with me. And you're just like, cool. Do you mind if I go have a barbecue with all my friends real fast and just get rid of these oxen? By all means, dude. And he burned it. He chopped up the yoke and used that for the fire. So yeah, he wasn't
Mhm.
doing anything. You mentioned though that you had done a series of paintings. Now, am I
Mhm.
to understand that the story was being told just via still frames at that point?
So the actually with the Light of the World project, it was going to cover from Genesis all the way to Revelation with just paintings, and it was going to be coupled into like a book format. So almost like if you watch a movie, like an animation movie, they always have like a behind the scenes art book. It would be formatted like that, where you would have the painting on one side, and then like a breakdown of what's going on within the painting, and then like I would sketch out like for instance, like the slingshot that David holds. I would do a sketch of that and be like, and sketch out like how he would have used it to kill Goliath. And so it would have been like an informative type of book, because I wanted wanted the viewers, if I were going to go this route, to not just be blessed by the artwork, but also be edified by the knowledge within it as well.
That's really cool. It would almost be like a companion book to Revelation itself. It's like, hey, we're talking about the chimeras from the bottomless pit here. Here's what they think they might look like. And,
Yeah.
like, it's going to make you sick for 5 to 6 months here. Or are they going to sting you? Are they going to bite you? We don't know, but here's what it might look like. That's really
Hmm.
cool. Okay, so then parlaying right into your actual anime,
Hmm.
what is the story in Ascension after? What is it going to cover across the Book of Revelation?
So the hope and the goal is to start from the very first chapter all the way up to 22.
Tall
So
order.
the tall it's going to be a lot of imagery, and so I know the first season covers just from the first four books, first like for the first yeah the first book to the fifth book actually, where we start to see the seals being opened up,
Okay.
and then that's when the end of the first season ends. And so Ascension after it doesn't just follow it's being told from two different perspectives. So it's being told from John, who wrote it on the island of Patmos around somewhere around 90 AD. So he's an old guy now. And then you also get the other perspective of Darius, who's the co-main character, who's actually living out the events that are happening in Revelation. So John's in heaven witnessing it, and Darius is the one living it out. And so we're putting ourselves in Darius's shoes throughout the story.
That's cool. So sort of a first-hand ride as the events unfold.
Hmm.
Wow, that's gonna be cool. That's gonna be really
Yeah.
cool. Especially, it'll be so much more relatable in the modern era because we understand that John saw a lot of this in visions, and while he described in these visions, a lot of it's probably exactly, and some of it probably allegorical. It's like we don't know exactly what he saw through his
Hmm.
eyes. So it's cool to see that actually take shape. Now with John, you mentioned the island of Patmos where he actually had his
Yes.
vision. Are we going to be taken to the island of Patmos as well and get to see him and his scribe Gaineus like interacting?
Hmm. Yeah, so it's not just John seeing the revelations, but there's a story being told through John too, and the other people that are held captive on Patmos, because Patmos was kind of like an internment camp for
Mm,
Rome at the time, and so you get Gaineus, who's not and he's not a captee. He's actually a Roman. He's like a book clerk who just so happens to be intrigued by the stories of John, and he ends up having like a lot of empathy for him because you have the Roman soldiers on one hand who are treating them like literal dogs.
mhm.
And then you have Gaineus who sees that and he's hearing the teachings of Jesus from John. And then over the course of the show, you start to see the shift happen from them being crude towards Christians and stuff like that on the island and stuff. And then having like this change of heart, especially through a very important character that I don't want to say too much about yet. But yeah, you'll get a whole story of John and Gaineus and Decimus and the other characters on Patmos too.
That's really cool. The change of heart from the soldier that's supposed to be assigned to him, it makes me wonder about the 2 years that Paul spent chained to a Roman centurion. Paul was his ward for that 2 years time, and yet he
Mhm.
entertained and taught every single day from his house. I have to imagine that at some point when that guy was done scrolling his feed, he was like, who is this Jesus guy?
Yeah, yeah, exactly, precisely.
Very cool. So now then you're covering through all four seasons the events of Revelation. First season is going to be taking us right up to the cracking of that fifth seal.
Hmm.
Um, and that's, I believe, the fifth seal is when the actual wrath of God is in full poured out on the earth. Now, visual wise, are we going to be getting to see the angel of the pit, Apollyon, or Abaddon, depending on whether or not you want Hebrew or Greek? Are we going to see the locusts rushing out on the land? What are we going to see?
Yeah, so when it comes to the imagery between Darius and John and like what's happening in heaven, as because you got to remember, John is literally writing down what he thinks it looks like. He doesn't have too much. He doesn't have Google to be like, oh yeah, that's exactly what it looked like. And so from John's perspective, right, when it talks about like they have like the tails of a scorpion, the teeth like a lion, and stuff like that, we're gonna show exactly what that looks like. Like we're gonna take
Cool.
exactly what he says. Now, if we're when it comes to Darius's part, I think some stuff is more literal, some stuff is more figurative. It's a whole thing that we talk about with some of our Bible scholars and stuff that I talk with, and it's just knowing what should be shown and what shouldn't be shown, if there should be time skips, stuff like that. And so yeah, when it comes to like the bowls being poured out, we'll literally like have like the angels like huge like the clouds cover up most of their body, and it's just John, this little John, and a giant bowl, and you see it being poured out of heaven of like the stuff that's within it, and you see it seep through, and then as it cracks through, it switches to to Darius's perspective, and you see what it would look like in real time for Darius, or an
Oh man.
interpretation. Yeah.
That's cool. Almost like this sort of what's we're morphing as you see that coming down. That's a
Hmm.
clever way to handle that. Because
Hmm.
it gets me really excited to see when we actually get to the two witnesses that are in Revelation 11, 1 through
Hmm.
14. There's sort of speculation about who they are. We know that
Yeah.
Elijah has said that he's going to be coming back.
Yeah.
And even John was heralded as he was going to be coming back in the spirit of Elijah. But we know Elijah's supposed to come back at some point. Now, question: are you guys going to name the two witnesses, or are you going to leave them unnamed?
For general audience sake, we're probably just going to leave them unnamed and
Okay.
just have them be as two witnesses. Kind of the similar situation with there's an angel that accompanies John throughout the book of Revelation, and it's kind of hinted at that, especially towards the end where he bows down before an angel, and he says, "See that you don't do that. Worship God. I'm a fellow servant." So that angel's name, he doesn't have a name. His name is just a fellow servant.
That's
And
cool.
so that would also be the same thing for the two witnesses.
Okay, cool. Yeah, because there's quite a bit of speculation. Most people they land on, well, it's obviously Moses and Elijah. We have
And you got Enoch
Elijah.
too.
Yeah, and because
Yeah.
Enoch is he taken up to heaven. And he was off the earth before his son was even dead. But we know Elijah, he called down fire on 3 separate occasions, and we have fire issuing from the mouths of the two witnesses to consume all their enemies. They're able to turn the water into blood. They can smite the earth with any manner of plague they want. They can close up heaven so it doesn't rain. So it's like a lot of
It's a
people
lot of
land.
Elijah.
Yeah, a
Yeah.
lot of Elijah, a lot of Moses there.
Hmm.
Okay, so that's pretty cool. So now, by the time we get to the last season, you probably don't want to give too much away, but are we going to be seeing that triumphal riding in of Christ with his saints, just laying siege to the cities of men?
Yeah, so the last season, it's in my mind, it's just war. It's
Oh,
like
cool.
war and remedy. And so you have the first part where like that meme was like they had us in the first half. That's what it's gonna be like for the Antichrist and everybody. The whole world's gonna be like, we can win, we can win. But if you already know, it's kind of spoilers, not spoilers, but we'll just say that it says like the blood is up to like the horse's bridle. So it's like, yeah, it's gonna be cool. So Armageddon will be covered throughout the fourth episode or season.
Cool. All right. So I guess what kind of rating we looking at for this show here then?
So anyway, I'd say PG-13. It wouldn't
Okay.
be so much as like gory, like certain shows and stuff like that. It's more of a narrative and stuff like that. So
Sure.
it should be PG-13.
Very good, very good. All right. So for all you parents out there, I mean, hey, if you had to give the Bible a rating, it's going to be an X rating. But this show's a PG-13, so maybe let the kiddos see it. Maybe just let them get to the point where they can understand what's actually going on, at least of reading level, before we start dropping those revelation bombs on them there. Well, let's take a look at the trailer. You guys released it not too long ago. I know you guys did a live stream. You exhibited it there a couple times. It's also available for people on their on your Instagram to see as well. But let's just for my audience here, let's jump into this thing and then maybe have a little bit of a breakdown afterwards.
Behold, I come quickly.
Ooh, gives you the chills there.
Oh man, I'm blown away. Even though I animated it, I'm still like blown away by it every time I see it.
It's like when the well put together housewife goes, I really shouldn't say this, but I love my brownies.
Yeah.
No, that looks fantastic. Let me just first start by saying the visuals there very, very impressive. I mean, this looks of a very, very top-notch professional level. I'd love if we could just go back through it again and just kind of talk about some of the visuals you have, because you have some very key things happening, which I don't know if people quite appreciate there. I'm just going to turn the sound off here for this beginning part and roll into it. Because I want to address, there's an image here of John. So I assume this is John walking here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I see, we have this, what looks like a scar on his cheek there. Now, for those of you who aren't really too familiar with Christian tradition, John is the one disciple of Jesus's 12, aside from Judas, who was not martyred to death for his faith. John, according to tradition, was even thrown into a boiling pot of oil, but was miraculously saved, was beaten severely a number of times, left for dead. On some accounts, they said he was thrown off the temple, but also survived it. Is that why we're seeing this scar on his face here?
Yeah, so basically stemming from tradition, you never know. You have to, in my mind, when I'm thinking about John and the way his writing is, he's not ashamed of Christ, as the other disciples were, right? And so you can imagine he's old now, obviously in the show, but like throughout those years of persecution from Rome and everybody else, he's gonna get into some fights and some tussles and stuff like that. And so in my mind, it was like, on one hand, it was an artistic choice because when you're designing characters and stuff like that, you want something that's going to make them stand out.
Mm-hmm.
Like for instance, Naruto, you have the whiskers.
Yes.
Goku, the distinct eye, like just the hair and everything, right? And so for John, I was like, yes, he's going to be a loving grandpa, but that scar is going to kind of be like, it's going to come off in some sort of way when he interacts with people in the show. But then they see the heart of him. He's like, oh, he's not a hard guy. He loves, and you get that throughout the first John, second John, third John. And that's kind of like the inspiration behind the scar on the left eye.
Very cool. Very cool. I like that choice there. And the uniqueness of the character. Yeah, there we go with that, the scar there. You guys' handling of even the wind. I love this scene here. Now, is he standing atop the crystal sea here? Is that what we're looking at?
That's exactly what we're looking at.
Awesome. Gosh, that sky scene back there.
So that sky scene, I don't think I've told you this before, but in one of my dreams, I've had 3 rapture dreams. Okay. And one of those, I saw that exact looking sky, and it took me forever to kind of get it exactly like that. And in the dream, it was me where John is, but that whole, the sea of glass was filled up with people wearing white robes. And so you're seeing this, you're seeing the actual setting of where that's happening, but it hasn't happened just yet. Because remember, John's being taken up at the time, and that stuff hasn't come past yet.
That's cool. So I guess in your dream, were you seeing yourself in third person, or were you in first person?
It would go back and forth. It would go back from first person and third person. But in this case, I was actually first person, and I looked to the right, and that's where I saw that horizon skyline. Because in front of me there's like a crowd, but then there was like those 2 huge thrones. Oh man, it was insane. That's cool. I hope we get to see some of that thrown into the show here as well. Yeah, no, the visuals, I love it. Of course, always pointed to him the whole book. So now these here, I'm assuming this is Darius on the right over there. Mm-hmm. Okay, and then don't tell me. Behind the left there, is that Giles on the left, the girl? Jael, yeah. Jael, okay. And then who's in the very, very back there? Very, very back is Mr. Brandon Lang. Brandon Lang, okay. So we have Darius. He's our protagonist now on Earth, living through the events of Revelation. And his 2 companions here, are they going to be on a similar kind of journey as him, or what's happening? Yeah. So basically, they all grew up together. They've all had their own experiences with hurt, church hurt, whatever kind of hurt it is that's kind of put them off from, God. And in fact, at the end of the summer, we're releasing a prologue manga that's going to go with the details behind why Darius is the way that he is now. And you also get revealed that throughout the first season too. And so all three of them, their journey starts together, and let's say it ends together too. Can't say too much.
I gotcha. Well, even in the Left Behind Kids series, as well as the adult series, there's a lot of kind of bifurcating and splitting off that happens, but there's a lot of rerouting back together that takes place too.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. Now there's one coming up here. I want to try and freeze it right at the proper here, right there. I love the handling of this right here. Now, this is the Rapture, correct?
Mm-hmm.
I love that visual. Those souls just lifting off like that. Why that choice? Why that choice?
Why the choice of the Rapture or the imagery?
The imagery that you chose there. Why'd you go that way?
Okay, so when I think about glory, the word gold comes to mind, or the color gold. And these people that are being taken or being brought home, they're not going to look in a way that's going to be recognizable to us, or not to us, but to the world, I should say, right? If you're not with the Holy Spirit, things aren't going to be revealed to you. And so to the world, it's going to look completely bizarre, something that they've never seen before. And then this is where the great deception happens from the enemy, where and in our case, it's almost like an intergalactic attack, right? They've been beamed up, Scotty, right?
Yep.
And so the posture, right? Open arms, looking up, because we look under Jesus. And when you have open arms, that means you fully trust. And we fully trusted Jesus in this life. And so when he comes back, we don't have to hear that horn and be like, am I going? We already know. So we just open our arms and we go up.
That's awesome. Yeah, I have my own thoughts on what I imagine it will look like. And it's just because we know that God, he pulls his spirit off earth. We know that the Holy Spirit is still very active during that 7-year period, but his spirit that resides within us, that goes. Mm-hmm. I always picture it like people who just walk along and then they just power down.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting.
Just gone, because then it can be explained away. Oh, this was some sort of neurovirus. This was some sort of brain attacking cancer that affected everybody. Or, oh, there was a solar flare involved, and those who didn't have a certain vaccination or those who weren't microchipped, they couldn't handle it. Something of that nature, because then they can explain it away. Oh, we got all these bodies in the road we got to clean up here. This is a tragedy, folks.
Mm-hmm. Actually, I didn't think about that. Ours is kind of more so just like, it's almost like the word "the happening" or the phrase "the happening" just keeps coming up. And so, like, of course, there's some left behind elements and stuff like that with the Rapture, like people are just disappearing and stuff like that. And then in some cases, it is kind of like the like you said, the booting off, where like they're there, but they're not there. If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is kind of just like this is more for like the viewer to know what's happening, not necessarily like what's going on throughout the show, because it would be hard to depict the Rapture in that kind of capacity. And so the bodies would still remain, the clothing and everything, but it'd be like an empty husk or a shell, and all the life would be taken out because the life is living elsewhere.
Very cool. I like the choice there. I think that's a great move to make there, because I mean, with any kind of retelling, like there's going to be some creative liberties taken here. I mean, even with the Chosen series, there are certain creative liberties taken, even though they do a pretty good job of trying to stay as close to the source material as possible. So it's nice that for the sake of storytelling, you're able to work that in there.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh. Oh, and the flash there, and then they're all gone. That's cool.
Yeah.
And so we cut back to John here.
Yes.
Now, Seraphim here, is that what I'm looking at?
Yes, that's the Seraphim.
Oh, man. I wish I could see a more sharp picture of it there.
I have a more sharp... I'll show you after.
Okay, cool. And, oh, my gosh. There he is. His name is Wonderful.
Dude.
Love that visual right there.
Yes.
Love that visual. Just the sternness and that set in the face there. Because for those who don't know, Jesus, when he was still on earth, he said, "Don't think that I came to bring peace. but to
Yes.
bring a sword of division,
Mm-hmm.
setting one's son against his father, one's daughter against her mother, one son against his father-in-law. And we know that when he comes on back, it's it's not going to be great for anybody who's still left here. There are some very fun bumper stickers that say "Beware the Lamb"
Yes.
as he comes back in his warrior glory here. Love that visual, and I love the choice to make his skin golden. That's pretty
Mm-hmm.
awesome.
Yeah, so the choice behind the design for Jesus, I already knew that I wanted the when it said like you get an actual description when John is seeing Jesus, and so you get like the hair like wool, his feet shine like brass and stuff like that, and he had like the white garment on with the purple, and so how would that look? And so when I think about Jesus, he says he's coming on the clouds. I think about like the eyebrows moving like a cloud, an anime cloud would look, the hair
For
kind of
sure.
swaying around, and then the choice to go with the golden skin is for John, right? This is the glorified state of his body, and you'll see like the actual like humanity version of Jesus within the show too.
Mhm.
But remember, John falls flat on his face right here, and so if John is seeing that and it's giving you the chills, or if we're seeing this now and it's giving you chills, imagine what John would have saw
Oh my
for him to
gosh.
fall like he were dead.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and so the golden skin, you see that translate. His is like a deep gold bronzish color, and you have the angels that are more like a white, not white, but like a light yellow, not as gilded kind of look. And so it all kind of looks the same because it's a heavenly angelic type of order and stuff like that.
That's cool. Yeah, I love the description of him when he is coming on the clouds in Revelation. It talks about his vesture as being though it was dipped in blood, and that's from
Mm.
that previous war in heaven, where back in the Major Prophets it says, "Behold, I saw Satan fall like lightning from heaven." Ooh,
Yes,
like, and
yes,
that's fast. That's like you're here in the throne room, and then boom, you're not in the throne room anymore. Like you're done. You're
dude.
gone.
That'll be covered also in the first season. It'll be the very beginning of the seventh episode because the seventh episode is very prevalent and it explains away what's about to happen for the next few or seasons too.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it's gonna be it's gonna be good. That's all I can say.
Good, man. I'm excited for it. I mean, just from the little bit of the teaser here that we've seen, there is clearly a lot to look forward to. Beautiful marquee there. I love the flaming sword there on the end, kind of a harkening back to the Garden of Eden, if you will. Um,
hmm
Bravo, my man. Bravo. You guys have been very, very hard at work. Now,
hmm
in terms of time and hours put in, just to get that trailer there done, how many hours are we looking at here?
Ooh wee. Okay, so let's see that teaser trailer. I did majority of my work because I also spend my daytime as a teacher,
Okay.
teaching visual arts, and so I would come home literally at like 4 o'clock, and I would animate all the way up until like 9 or 10 for the course of 2 weeks. And so,
Okay.
kind of, what's the math on that? I'm an art teacher.
Four, 4 to 9,
Times.
5 hours time. Now, is this just during Monday to Friday?
Oh yeah, that's Monday through Friday. Saturday and Sunday I would animate from like noon till 9.
All right,
So
so you got
nine
about
hours.
29, 38 hours time put into that.
Just
So
about, yeah.
that's impressive.
I think that includes so that's just the animation side, and then to edit it all together, it took me probably about like an hour or 2 hours to edit it all together.
All right, so nominally 40 hours of work. Wow.
hmm
Wow.
Full work week.
Yeah, really. A full work week. Goodness, with lunch breaks included. Wow. No, I love that there. That's gonna be cool, man. And
Yeah.
I've been scouring your Instagram looking for any other little bits that we've thrown out there. There isn't a whole lot, but you do have some really, really cool keyframes that you guys have
hmm
done there. I want to ask you specifically about this one here because I'm very curious. Who am I looking at here?
Okay, so this is a prisoner. I don't want to say his name yet because he has a really cool meaning that you'll find
Okay.
out in the first episode. But during the scene, this is during John's time, so he's on Patmos, and like a sackcloth type of garment. And what you'll notice is, and we can also show this later, that red cloak that's on him, that's from John, because that's part of John's attire.
Okay.
And so what happened in the scene, and this is at the beginning of the very first episode, they're on Patmos and they're doing their work that they're supposed to be doing while they're on the island. And this prisoner, he has like, he can't lift anymore. And then him and the Roman soldier pretty much just beats him. And so you see like the cattails and stuff like that. And you see John like reaching out, trying to, like he wants to go help him. But then you have someone who's like grabs his shoulders like, hey, that's not a good idea. Mm-hmm. And at this time, the Roman soldier finally gets called back in. He's like, that's enough. And John, at the end of it all, he walks up to him while he's struggling to get up. And you'll see him put the coat over him, and then he offers his hand and then just smiles. And so this prisoner, he's not just a one-off character. He also has a pretty important role throughout the first season as well.
Very cool. I want to play this again here from start to finish, folks. If you ever wondered what keyframing looks like in any kind of animation capacity, this is really what it is. You go from very quick a sketch to the inking of it. You go into a base level color, you go into shading, you go into highlights, you go into atmospheric, you go into the textures in the background, the foreground. You have to do a little bit of a blur to add depth to it there to make it seem like it's not just all one flat image. I mean, there's a lot of work that goes into this, especially with those textures in the clouds, on the rocks there in the back, on the stone work in the back there. Solid handling. We've got another one here where it's a little bit longer here, but this is John again here. I really enjoyed walking through this one here. It is a bit longer, but showing even how you have your sketch there and you have a choice where you're like, I'm not going to go with that line that I originally drew here. I'm going to go either under it or around it, or I'm going to stretch. Or you actually move his eyes a couple times inside here, and you kind of move the hair around as well. Mm-hmm. Now, what animation software are you guys using?
So I use Clip Studio Paint, and I use this is the Paint EX version. So you can pay for Clip Studio Paint, and then you have the EX version, which you can do a yearly or monthly, and it unlocks all the animation tools that you need for me and my team to be able to do all the work that you're seeing right now.
Wow. Gosh, look at that. I love the clouds inside there. Now, is there a cloud rendering tool that you're using there, or is that you just freehanding those in?
So the actual clouds are free-handed, and what you can do on like Clip Studio Paint, you can do this on Photoshop, and really any digital painting program. You can make one little preset, and then you can program it to be an actual brush. So instead of having to paint and draw each and every single cloud, I can use it almost like a stamp, and then erase some parts, color in some parts, and stuff like that.
That's cool. That's very cool. I actually used to use a skin texture brush that I downloaded in a pack from actually DeviantArt way back in the day. Mm-hmm. And I would use that to do photo touch-ups and, cover up blemishes here and there. Or if somebody had a really droopy spot under their eye, a heavy dark bag, I could lighten that up. Mm-hmm. Very, very cool handling. So you've already mentioned before, you have a team here. Obviously, you're not doing this all in here. Let's talk about your team here. I got to meet you guys. It was last week, I believe, or just before last. Yeah, it was last week. Great group of dudes. Very, very energetic group of guys. Seem to be very, very just driven. Very, very heart sold out for God. Tell me about these guys.
Oh man, where can I start? These guys, I pray for them daily. I talk to them daily. If we weren't in the same room, it's just, I don't know, it'd be crazy. But so the writer is Zach Scriber. He's done the script rights for the first 7 episodes. So he basically took my synopses and then fleshed them out in the script format. And me and Zach, we go way back. We actually were in a Christian fraternity back in college. And so we made a whole webtoon like one summer. And just so happened, I know a writer, he's the writer, and so he's our writer. And then you have Bo McGowan. He is our sound technician and composer. So all the audio work that you heard in the teaser trailer, that was all from him, whether if it was the sound effects or the actual music with like the trumpets and the horns and stuff like that. Man, he's amazing. And he's been working on a bunch of tracks. I think right now we have around 30 to 40 tracks for the first season alone.
Awesome.
yeah, just playing around with different sounds and techniques, because we have the first century or late first century sound, and then we have the modern day sound. So having those things mesh well, and you kind of heard that in the teaser trailer when you saw Darius, you saw like that dun 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 dun, that theme. That's Darius's theme. And so Bo McGowan's our sound technician and composer, and then you have lastly is Afari Morton. Afari will be serving as my art assistant, and he's been working behind the scenes on the first episode, doing mainly just the background work. And then when we start production full time over the summer, he'll be working in and doing some of the coloring and not keyframes, but the in between frames with me.
Very cool. Now, I know in your live stream you were talking about bringing on potentially some more animators. Have you guys got a line on some more animators you're going to be bringing in? And if so, how many?
It just depends. Like right now, the first episode, a lot of the keyframes are pretty much almost done, and so all we would have to do is it's a matter of getting the lines recorded, because the way we're going to approach it is we're going to have the lines, and then we're going to animate according to the lines that are being done. And so I'd say anywhere between 2 to 5 animators or something like that. It all just kind of depends right now.
Very cool. Yeah, that's going to be quite a feat there. What I mean, it's nice though for those of you folks who aren't really familiar with doing animation. I know because also not unlike yourself, went through the art program at my university. But you have your keyframes, and those are your main frames that are sort of the pinnacle moments within a scene. So when a scene starts off, you have a keyframe. Usually, another 4 frames later, there's another keyframe. Another 4 frames, another keyframe, and then it goes all the way through that entirety of that scene there. But within the starting frame and the last frame, you have a lot of time that is filled. So you have a lot of individual frames that are drawn out again and again and again and again and again. If the hair is blowing, if somebody's eyes look left or right, if a mouth opens up, there's a lot of individual animation that takes place there. So for doing something where you're having to animate to somebody speaking, that is quite a time-consuming feat.
Yes. Very time-consuming.
we sort of had the luxury working at Funimation of not even having to worry about that. All we had to really do was just match the cadence of those lip flaps and then just match the intensity that the former actor or actress had laid down. So we kind of got it easy there.
Yeah, we're doing the hard work.
Yeah, I guess easy in the sense that we weren't having to animate it. I mean, it's tougher to match what's already there because you don't get to act the way you want to. So for the actor, it's a little tougher. For the animator, there is no animator. You're just hey, I'm lining up this guy's performance with this mouth here. But for an animation team that is going grounds up in American style cartoons, a lot of times you have people that are all sitting in the same room together. Like if you've ever seen the show Rugrats, they have a whole cast sitting in a semicircle, everybody with their own mic, and you do it that way so you can play off each other. So those jokes, they can actually hit and people are reacting to it. This one though, from what I understand, your cast is across the United States.
Yeah, pretty sure. Yeah, let me think. Yeah, everybody's like everywhere across the U.S. Yes.
Yeah, and so you guys are going to be doing those individual recordings. They'll be recording their lines for the scenes based off of the direction that you're giving them, sending you their performances, and then it's going to be up to you guys to mix and match those, insert them in, and then do the animation.
Yeah, so actually it's the second week of June. We're doing table reads through Discord, and
awesome.
I've been checking out the program you showed me too, and so it'll be either through Discord or through that program. I can't remember the name of it right now, but
Nexus.
Yes, Nexus. Yes. So the way that we're approaching it is we'll all be on call, like let's say maybe 3 to 5 hours, like on a Saturday. We can get who's going to be in the actual episode, and they'll already have the script, so they'll know when their lines is and when they're not. And so I'll have like just the audio recording, not like the full video, because that would be gigabytes on gigabytes, but I'll have like the WAV file just recording the system audio. That way, when we have like a really good take, I can just take that and send it to them. They can do it on their own and then send it over to us, depending on like how well their mic quality and stuff is like that too.
That's awesome. You guys have done quite a bit of forward thinking in that capacity. As I've worked in projects before where people didn't have a great sense of the intensity of the scene or even the intensity that their fellow actors and actresses were laying down. And so when you had these back and forths, when people were recording separately, it didn't quite line up as well. So to actually do a table read ahead of time, that's going to really help the acting team out a lot.
Mm-hmm. And our acting team, we're kind of going like the approach of like Avatar: The Last Airbender, where it's just this really core group of people, and just establishing that, and then we could build upon that in the future seasons too.
That's great. That's really great. So when do you anticipate that your first episode is going to drop?
First episode, we anticipate that to drop around Easter of 2026.
Very fitting time. Very fitting time. Now, are you planning to have all 7 episodes done at that point?
The goal is to have 7 done. So if we've already begun production on the first episode now, and if we go throughout the summer, I'm off for like 3 months, and so I'll have a lot of time to really just focus on it. And then throughout, the goal is to kind of have it done around January, and then compositing and stuff like that for me doesn't take too much time for me to do all that stuff. And at the same time, we're also going to just be showing a trailer from the first episode. That way, if we're kind of playing the long game, that way, if let's say we get to Easter and not all 7 are done, we can just be like, check out our pilot. If you want to support us, then you can head on over here, and then we'll have dates for the future episodes like that too.
That's cool. Very cool.
So for sure, the first episode, I'm very confident at least the first 5 will be done, because not each episode runs at the same airtime. Some are longer, some are shorter, some require more intense animation, some don't. It just all depends.
You know, that's actually refreshing to hear, because there's a lot of shows, unfortunately, that the writing team ends up kind of writing themselves into a corner because they're trying to fit a half-hour slot, and usually there's 3 commercial breaks within that half hour there, and so they end up with about 22 to 24 minutes overall runtime, and that's tough to get all that you want out in that time. Well, I even mentioned to you the other day when we were talking about Evangelion, you had the director's cut of the last 6 episodes of the original season come out, and it added, for some episodes, it was like an extra 6 minutes. For others, it added around an extra 8 to 9 minutes. And it was because, hey, we now have license carte blanche to do this the way that we want to do this. And we know that people that are buying this DVD, they're buying it because they want the extra content.
Precisely.
So now, big question here for a number of the viewers who are watching this right now. I'm sure they're wondering, okay, I haven't read my Bible, let alone read Revelation. Do I need to have read Revelation or any book of the Bible to be able to enjoy this anime?
Answer is... I'm joking. The answer is no.
Yeah, we'll tune in next week, folks, for the answer.
No, you can not even know how to count and enjoy the show. You know, the whole premise is to make something for everyone that points to somebody. And so, like for instance, if you've never read Revelation or anything that's in the Bible, Darius and crew, right? They don't really know much about God. So you're actually going to be learning along with them throughout the course of Ascension after. And of course, when you get to John's going to be talking a lot about Jesus too, to his scribe, because his scribe doesn't know anything about Jesus. So there's going to be a lot of things that you end up learning. And then, for instance, with the first season, right? This is what we're doing. So in Marvel, you have the end credit scenes. Yes. In our show, the first, the second and the third chapter of Revelation, it's Jesus talking to John, telling him to write this down, right, to give it to the 7 churches. At the end, you'll get each letter, right? You'll see it depicted in almost like an old timey, slide by slide animation. So like where he's talking to the Church of Ephesus, right? You'll see like a card, or like like how you have like the lines that are going down, the old like video footage, kind of like that. And then you'll see like the fire behind it. And when Jesus is talking about audibly, you'll see it depicted on the screen. And so you will have like a little subtitles like, hey, you'll find this in Revelation 2,
cool.
verse, stuff like that.
About that.
Yeah, so the goal, like I said, it's a show that's for everyone to point them to somebody. That somebody's Jesus. And so we don't want to leave things up in the air. Like they'll probably flip to like Nehemiah trying to find revelation,
Yeah, right.
And so we want them to like just like a little subblurb that says the following events will be depicted or will depict, Revelation 1, whatever it is that's happening in that episode or that
That's
little
cool.
cut scene.
That
Yes.
in a very real capacity. Well, I mean, like you're mentioning before, a lot of times you'll have with big time animations, you'll have a little companion book that goes with them, and it's these little drawings that maybe they tell you, hey, this you always see this person with this weird tool. Well, here's what this tool is, and this is what it does. It really breaks it down. And well, hey, the best companion book for the Bible is the Bible.
Yeah.
Very good to do that. That'll I'm sure that will go a long way for viewers and just being able to parse out what is happening, even if they are reading the the accountings inside Revelation and they're very confused. At least you'll have somewhat of a visual that can kind of take them by the hand and walk them down those darkened streets.
Yeah, the best interpretation that we can according to God's guidance, of course.
Oh, that's great, and I'm sure a lot of prayer goes into that. I'm sure it's not just off the cuff, which I really appreciate.
It takes prayer, preparation, conversations, and lots of learning. Like I said, I'm an educator, so I'm big on the whole learning aspect, and that's what I really want people to get from the show too, is something that they can learn.
Sure, something tangible that they can hold on to. So I want to throw the series poster up here because this seems like it's going to be really just covering, I guess, all the mains of the show, if I understand. The file is having an issue. Hold on a second here. We'll get this to go here. But it looks like it's got Darius. It has oh gosh, I'm gonna butcher the name again. It wasn't Yael, was it?
Jael.
Okay. Let's see if we can get this up here again. Well, it looks like my StreamYard is wanting to struggle here. All right, well, I guess I'll throw it in post. But I'll just describe.
Here, I got it right here. Let me see.
Perfect. Look at that. Yeah, you're the guy. You ought to have it. Perfect. So who's
here? You want me to point?
Yeah. What I assume to be the angel up there on the left. That's the one that John is speaking with during the events of Revelation.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, cool. And then the imagery up there in the back, the two hands there. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, and definitely show this in post because the flames it's very important. Because it's Jesus holding this heart-shaped fire, and so the fire represents the Holy Spirit, and then when we receive the Holy Spirit, like Rengoku says, set your hearts ablaze, right? And so that's kind of like where I got the inspiration from that is he's pouring out, he not only is he, but he has poured out his heart for us, and all he wants in return is a fiery heart, like our heart on fire for him. And so it's like this double entendre type thing.
I like that a lot. Oh, that's fun little visual. It's like hiding the story within the story there. And that, I think I got a way here that I can actually show this here. We fooled you, StreamYard. Take that. Hold on. Let me throw the tab over here. Give me just a second. There it is. Got it. Hopefully that's showing.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, there we are. For those of you who couldn't see before there's that hand. I like that heart-shaped fire. Dude. Very nice there.
Yes.
Oh, my gosh.
And then I forgot to mention this when it came to the fiery heart, too. Like I said, when it comes to art, I'm a big Renaissance sucker, right? Okay. Or a sucker for Renaissance art and artists. But you would often see Jesus, especially towards the latter end of the Renaissance period, like you'll ever see him like do the little pose and then like the dove and then like the fiery heart too. And so that's also another inspiration from that too.
That's cool. That's very cool. So the initial characters that you talked about inside your live stream the other day, and you mentioned Darius, of course, the Apostle John. We have Gnaeus, his scribe. We have Yael, Marcus. Decimus was one that we got to see a real fun little video from the actor, just talking about how excited they were to be playing that role. But tell me a little bit about Decimus. What do we know about Decimus?
So Decimus is the guy who beat the other guy that you saw
Okay.
earlier.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And I think I sent you over one of the keyframes where he's looking over the shoulder. That's
Yeah.
right after that, where he calls the guy that he just beat a dog, right? And so Decimus is the bad. He's the bad that ultimately has like this change of heart throughout the show, and so he goes from being Decimus to being somebody else that I can't say yet.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay. Oh, found it here. Let me toss this in here for all the folks to see. I like that. Well, and that's sort of a fun thing to do, especially in a show where it is, it's about kind of coming as you are.
Mm-hmm.
That's a fun thing to be able to incorporate inside there. Those who have that change of heart, and those who are actually not just taken by those clever fables, as the apostles said the book was not, but taken by the truth. Here we go. We got Decimus there.
Oh yeah, what a Chad! Look at
Man,
him.
that jawline there, dude, could
Dude.
chisel some glass.
Yeah, I love just Roman. And when you look at like when I was doing my research for like how I was going to design the Roman soldiers and the centurions and everybody, there's a lot of creative liberties that you can have, especially with animation. And I was thinking, because like not everyone has like like the red brush or mop thingy on their head. Some of them like just have like the leather caps and stuff, but you can tell that it's Roman because of the red, the brown, and then obviously on the soldier shields that you can see the little Roman insignia there too.
Sure.
But yeah, I just love this character so much because like you said earlier, right? Our hope is to inspire, and we want to invoke change within people who watch this. And so there's a lot of philosophy and metaphors that happen within just the characters and everything that's happening within the story.
I like that. So now, then here we have this is Gabriel.
Yes, that's Gabriel.
I like that. I like it. Very much embodies the idea of the Nahash, the shining ones.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah,
watches that.
the inspiration. I drew a lot of for some reason Wizard 101, this old MMO game that came to mind. You had Star Wars, you had the papacy too. And then, like I said, I was in a Christian fraternity, and our colors are purple, white, and gold. Those three things have different symbolic meanings, right? With the purple for royalty, the white for purity, and the gold, for what is gold again? I can't remember.
Royalty?
Glory? I think so.
I think it's royalty and glory.
Yeah, I think gold is for the glory aspect. Purple, I know for sure, is royalty, and the white's purity. But yeah.
Very good. So now then we get to the juicy one. I love this. Here's the one you were telling me about. It's a little bit more fleshed out here. Ooh. Gosh, look at that. Ooh. No wonder they always said fear not when they popped into our plane of existence.
So this seraphim, right? This was the very first piece of concept art that I did for Ascension after.
Really?
Or like I said, at the time it was Light of the World, but I can break this down too for you if you like.
Please, yes.
Okay, so this angel, this is actually the angelic form of a fellow servant. So the guy that you see on the cover, this is him in his angelic form. So they have like this angelic form and then this humanoid form. And you would see that often also in the Old Testament too, like with Abraham and talking to like the three angels and everything like that. Sure. But you have John standing on the sea of glass. You have the seraphim, and when you look at like biblically accurate angels like depicted, you have like the wheels within wheels with the eyes and everything like that. In my interpretation, it was kind of like we still have the wheels and wheels, like you see the big red wheel behind, but then like the eye, like it just it always overlaps, it's always folding, it's always circulating around one another. And so that's the angel. And then at the top you'll see a glimpse of the throne room and the fire coming from below the throne room, and like it starts to look like there's coals and everything right there too.
Far out. I like that. I love the attention to detail there, and it is interesting inside Ezekiel's depiction of the seraphim. when he talks about the 6 wings, 2 that cover the feet, 2 outstretched, and then 2 that cover I believe their arms up there. And he describes those wheels and wheels. If anybody has read the book of Enoch, there's a bit of conjecture as to whether or not those wheels within wheels are a type of vehicle, like a flying craft, or if that is in fact the Ophanim, another angel class, I believe out of 10 different ones that Enoch specifically touches on.
Yes.
And lastly, here we have, this is a outstanding image over here. You are very, very talented, sir.
Thank you.
You're a master of your craft. I love the visuals there. Everything down to the way those leaves are shading these characters is beautifully done.
Man, I appreciate it. Yeah, I love this illustration. This was actually the first like real character illustration that I did for all 3 of them too, after like the refining of the character illustrations.
So I'm assuming at this point in the show, this is before the rapture has taken place and everything has just gone to hell.
So kind of like when I look at anime and manga, often like the illustrators or creators, they would just like, they do one-off illustrations of their characters, just to show them off. That's pretty much what this is right here. Not really any meaning, but kind of just like a cool little fun piece to have with the 3 of them.
Sure. Very good. And then here's that one of the rapture actually taking place again, a little larger visual here for you folks. I love the handling of that. And this person over here with their hands behind their head, I just gotta imagine just kind of disbelief, like I don't know what to do with my arms right now.
So that's Brandon, Jael, and Darius right there. So the scene previously where they're looking up, the one that's behind there going like this, that's Brandon right there. So this is all happening in real time for them.
That's really cool, man. Oh, if that doesn't get you excited, folks, I'm not quite sure what's going to here. Wow, the hard work is definitely showing. So you have you did a sort of a large net casting for actors. I saw you guys have put out on Instagram. You put out, hey, we're looking for actors for the series here. If you want to be a part of it, get your submission in by this time here. You did mention that you have intent to throw another net out for some more actors. Do you know around when you're going to be looking to do that?
When it comes to that, like we have our core cast pretty much casted already. There's still one more role that we need. And so we'll see about that. But when it comes to the next round of casting, it'll probably get when we're deeper into production, like if we need more background characters and stuff like that.
Sure.
Definitely, because we have 2 other projects that we're cooking up at Studio Bless. And so we're definitely going to need more talent in that kind of area too. So right now we're just kind of like leaving it up to God and seeing what he wants to do. We know he's given us the people that we need right now. And so we're definitely going to have casting calls. It's just a matter of when and what it looks like at that time.
Very good. So that actually leads me to my next question, because you mentioned you've got a couple other projects going on. What other plans do you have for Studio Blast? Can you talk about some of these other projects yet?
Man, dude, do I want to?
I'm gonna poke you.
Dude, okay. Let me think for a second. So the other 2 projects won't be debuted or announced. People know we have projects, but they don't know exactly what they are.
Okay.
And when we do our big live stream, when we do the first episode for Ascension after, so this will be around 2026 in springtime, we'll also unveil the other 2 projects that we've been working on since the beginning of this year on as well.
That's awesome, man.
It'll encompass a bunch of different things that people like. So it's not. I'll tell you what, they're both not TV shows, but they can be adapted into TV shows.
Okay. All right, cool. Like picturing like a web-esque novel over here, or like a weekly serialized type of a thing via images and panels.
Hey.
I'm hoping, right? So you guys have plans to make this show free to view. I think that's awesome. That is a noteworthy cause. I don't know a minister out there that charges people to come into the church on Sunday to hear them speak about the Bible. So that's pretty awesome. But you plan on being on Amazon Prime, plan on being on YouTube, and then on your own website as well.
Yes.
Do you have any goals to get on any kind of streaming platforms like Minnow or anything with Angel Studios?
Man, it just depends. we kind of gone in the direction that we're going to do the project. We know we can put it on Amazon Prime right now. We know we can put it on our website, all that stuff. And then we'll do the marketing the best that we can. And then literally like how everything else has been done through prayer. And then God just delivering on that prayer. And so like we put it out. If it goes, it goes. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I mean, at the end of the day, we still did something. And so my goal, my hope for Studio Bless is for me and my team to work on it full time to make stories about Jesus. If that's through getting it on Netflix or Crunchyroll, because it is an anime, so, if there's any Crunchyroll, people out there listening, info at thestudiobless.com. You can look, email us there. But yeah, it would be amazing to be on streaming platforms, obviously, because the more people that it gets out to, that means the more lives that potentially could be saved through hearing the gospel in like an anime format.
So awesome. So awesome. So where can people find you? How can they support your work? We're obviously going to have your link tree down inside the info section here below this video, but where can they reach out to you right now? Where can they find you right now?
So you can find us on Instagram and YouTube at The Studio Bless. And then on TikTok, it's a little bit different. It's at _Studio Bless. Primarily, we do majority of our updates through our Instagram, just because their platform allows for more of like a community type thing. So if you want to hear more updates, like through stories and stuff like that, you would hear that mainly through our Instagram. And then we also have a Discord that's also going to be in the link tree. And I think right now we're around 100 or so members. And I do give a lot of exclusive content and stuff that's happening on there. I also draw with people on there. We do Bible studies. We're basically just trying to build up like this whole community. And then the biggest way that you can support right now is through our Patreon. And on our Patreon, we have a lot of behind the scenes clips. You get to see merch that's not been shown yet. You get to see insight of who we are as a studio, the thought process behind certain shots and stuff like that. And then you also get incentives like merchandise, like hoodies, t-shirts, and art prints, stickers. And then the big thing that we're launching, I want to say around July or August, is going to be our Kickstarter. That's going to just kind of crowdfund for the advertising, for the promotion, and then Lord willing to do future production work at Studio Bless for Ascension after. So that's where you can find us.
That's awesome. Very, very exciting. Yeah, folks, if you want to support the cause here, it takes a lot of revenue to do something this big. You're looking at buying equipment, you're looking at paying actors, paying people for their time. There's a lot that goes into it, advertising and all that. If you feel like supporting them, please check that link tree out. Hit up that Patreon. Definitely keep your eye out for that Kickstarter when it does come out there, and throw some weight behind your faith here, and let's get this thing fully funded here. I can't wait to see this actually hit the waves and be able to watch those first couple episodes there. That's going to be pretty monumentous, and I would say that is you definitely taking that talent that the Lord has given you and trying to double or triple it before that master comes back.
Mm-hmm. Yes, there's a verse, and this is at the very beginning where I didn't know what I was going to do with, before Studio Bless or just life in general, and I wrote it on my mirror so I could see it like every single morning when I brush my teeth. It's Galatians 6:9, and it says, "Don't grow weary in doing what's good, for in due season you will reap a harvest if you don't." And I like this translation. It says, "Don't lose heart," or in other words, it would say, "Don't give up." And so, like I said, meeting you, certain people that I've been talking to, even to get into where we're at in followage or news articles or just in general, I don't know what I'm doing, and I literally pray every time I walk my dogs. I say, God, I don't know what I'm doing. This is what's on my mind. And then literally the next day he delivers. And so if the Lord wants something to happen, and this is kind of an encouragement to you and to everybody else, if the Lord really wants something to happen, he'll make it happen. You just have to be a willing vessel and make it about him. That's what I would say.
Steps of a righteous man are ordered by the Lord. And he tells us in Proverbs 14:23 that there is profit in all labor and toil, but mere talk tends only to poverty. And you are not just talking, you are drawing, as it were.
Yeah.
Well, hey, man, this has been an absolute blast having you on here. Thank you so much for sharing some of that behind the scenes stuff, your guys' process that you've been going through. I have to know, have there been any setbacks, or have you noticed the heat kind of get turned up on you in that spiritual warfare kind of
Oh,
capacity?
there are days where it's nothing but creativity pouring out. Like I can draw a whole like layout for a whole manga section for like what we're doing, and then there are days where I can't even pick up a pencil because I'm so bogged down. Like, is anybody really going to watch this? Are these followers even real? It's like this imposter syndrome that the enemy tries to
Mm,
play on you. And every single time I go to my wife, she'll pray for me. I go to the word, I'll worship, and then
mm.
it's gone. And so in like you said, setbacks, not necessarily setbacks, but kind of just not even hiccups. It's almost a reminder that I'm doing something right because if I wasn't, the enemy wouldn't mess with you. Now, if
Yep.
he's gonna, yeah, if you're doing something right, then he'll come at you, and that's how you know, okay, Lord, I'm on the right direction. Just lead me and guide me.
Yeah. Actually, Chuck Missler was really fond of saying, "So you don't believe in Satan? All right, cool. Well, try opposing him for a while and see what happens."
Yeah, he's real, but hey, we already know the ending.
That we do. There's actually a great comic. I forget who had first put this into circulation, but it's a picture of Satan. He's sitting on the side of this road and he's just crying. And somebody says, "What's going on with you?" And he goes, "People are blaming me for everything." So we do have our own accountability to hold up to ourselves, folks.
True.
Um, but no, this has been awesome. Again, folks, please check the description box down below. Hit up that link tree there. Jump onto the Instagram. Jump onto the YouTube channel here. We'll see if we can pull it on up and share it here briefly. Get involved, and at the very least, definitely hop on over to the Instagram, hop on over to the YouTube, and just check out some of the content that these guys are putting up here. You guys post pretty frequently. I've seen on Instagram, a lot in
Mhm,
the area of shorts and stuff over
mhm.
here. Some of these, the music that you've chosen, it really really goes well, and that I assume was created by your man. So
So for the like, okay, so when it comes to the social media, we use the shorts that are on the platform. Now, when
okay.
it comes to the long format videos, those are the music that's the music that's composed by Bill McGowan. So yeah, right there when it's like, yeah, those ones.
Very cool. Here's a fun little video here. This guy who's playing Decimus. I actually donned the Centurion garb. Very, very cool. I can tell somebody lives over
Shout
here.
out to Mr. Dan Sandoval. That's his name.
We'll also get you on over here onto the Instagram as well. Lots of great content on here too, folks. This is where I first had seen some of the visuals and a little bit of the teaser stuff here. Is when my wife says, "You better check this out here." Lots of great stuff. Lots of good information on here too. And real quickly here, just flash up the link tree here. Ton at your disposal here, folks. So jump in there, get on it. Let's get this thing funded here and help this be a monumentous swing away at the darkness, as it were.
Yes.
If you folks enjoyed tonight, please consider smashing those like and subscribe buttons. Hit that notification bell. If you like the work that I do and you feel so inclined, consider donating to my locals page. Donors all get PDF access to all of my research papers as often as I can get them posted up there, and your support is greatly appreciated. Feel free to share them with family and friends who have those questions. Again, please just don't post them up for money because that's mean. Sir, you have the last word. Anything you'd like to plug? Anything you'd like to mention beyond what we've already talked about tonight?
Mm, I don't know. I just want to say thank you to everyone who has supported us. Thank you for having me on here.
Of course.
Thank you to my wife who lets me work. You know, huge shout out, shout out to her. Shout out to my mom. Obviously, she's been a huge supporter. Not just my mom, but my parents as well. Family, friends, my team, and if I could encapsulate everything that we're about, I would say it's what our church is about: to love God and to love people.
Awesome, man. Well said. Well, there you have it, folks. You take care. God bless you and yours, and we will see you next time.